What happened to the girl boss? In 2019, female founders were on magazine covers, raising hundreds of millions and turning feminism into a brand.
I've been seeing videos of people saying we need to bring back the girl boss. So I thought today, let me emulate the girl boss. Let me try, okay? I did a half day at work. Here's me checking my Slack messages.
We have to stop publishing books that conflate feminism with capitalism.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the commentary channel. My name is Brittany, but you can call me Bert. Over on this channel, I make videos every 2 weeks. I also want to make sure that we focus in on what the point of this video is, which is philosophy. All of my content is philosophy. We use pop culture to discuss our why. Why do we do what we do? I have a special interest in ethics, and I really want to use pop culture to sort of explain how seemingly good people end up really engaging in a lot of philosophical evil.
Because people have been criticizing the finance girl boss women of the internet that are Asian and white that have built their platform convincing people, I'm capitalist and I can do it and you can do it too. We can all just be super rich, but their very message is a sham and a lie. If you actually dive deep in their content, they're actually shilling for finance people. They're pro-cops. When you look at, I don't unfollow your rich BFF Vivian, because she's an Asian girl I looked up to in finance, but she's been getting ripped apart because she said, we can't tax the rich people because they have loopholes. They keep loopholing. You don't know how rich people work. She's like, I don't like ICE guys, stop tearing me apart. But I do like the cops.
And just for definitions, as we head into this topic, philosophical evil to me is like a little bit of a term that I sort of created over on my stream channel that basically explains when you're out of sync with your ethics and your joy. So all of us are animals on a planet. We evolved to be here. We're biological creatures. I do not believe in objective morality, so I don't think there's like a universal right and wrong. I think instead, because of the way we evolved, we're able to have a deeper relationship with our biological experience, and therefore we get to sort of create frameworks of right and wrong. And a philosophical evil is sort of when you're out of sync with that right or wrong. So let's say you have somebody who's pro-life. Well, typically a pro-lifer would be somebody who's anti-abortion, anti-war, anti-death penalty. Typically, they're not quite pacifists, and they're not quite somebody who would technically be against self-defense, maybe in the right circumstance, but depending on the pro-lifer you meet, they will have a different definition of what that means to be pro-life.
I'm pro-life, which is why I'm totally fine with our president threatening nuclear war. I do not consider those abroad to be real people.
So pro some lives.
Obviously, it's a made-up construct.
I made that up.
There's no objective morality. There's no universal objective morality that says you must be pro-life. But there is something within all of us that agrees that mitigating harm is important. So even though I am not a pro-lifer, I am somebody who's trying to be less bad every day, and I'm trying to be less violent every day. Many of you have seen my videos probably on veganism and how I'm engaging in plant-based eating as a way to help mitigate the harm. It benefits both ourselves, non-human animals, and the planet, and it's just an overall good. These are small ways that I engage in ethical practices to mitigate violence and harm in the universe. Again, there's no reason for me to do this. There's no God who's going to come and send me to hell if I'm a bad person. There's no real incentive to me being a quote good person. I just choose to engage in it because it fulfills my philosophical joy, as opposed to my philosophical evil, which would sort of maybe make me do something that would make me feel really bad. Now, some philosophers would call this emotivism, in which your emotions dictate your ethics. And though I think there's something there to be explored, at the end of the day, no matter what you call it, we're obviously all engaging in a feeling that makes us decide what to do and a logic that reaffirms or confirms our decision to make said action.
The only way that people make decisions is in an emotional way. It may be that you and I, who are scientifically minded, believe that we make decisions based on statistics, but ultimately for us, that is still an emotional story. We have an emotional relationship to data and mathematics and science in a whole story of our lives that kind of builds up to that moment. And it's still an emotional decision.
So as we explore this topic about girl bossing and philosophical evil, we're going to talk about 3 people in pop culture right now that all have engaged in successful businesses. They're prominent celebrities on different spectrums, and they all have connections to Israel.
You served in the military. And your whole family served in the military, right? Mm-hmm. How was your experience?
It was okay.
Even though these women are prominent, smart, beautiful, intelligent people, they've made a decision to support a government body that is committing a genocide. And it begs the question, why do smart, capable, beautiful, talented people end up making really unethical decisions? Because it would be easy for us just to write people off and be like, oh, you're so bad, you're so evil, which is okay. You can say this. I've said this too. And I think at some point we have to be the adult in the room and say there must be a reason why human beings who seem more than capable of making different decisions don't. Now, of course, we could argue free will, which I would argue we have a very limited, maybe access to free will, if any at all. Instead, what we have is a access to having a deeper relationship with our biological experience more than free will in the way that we think about it. Because if we had complete free will and if we were completely logical creatures, I would just give you the facts and the statistics and you would change your whole life tomorrow. But that's not how it works. And because that's not how it works, we're on a planet, a shared planet together of 8 billion people, all pulling us in different directions. And the question is, which direction do you need to go in to fulfill your philosophical joy? And then, of course, the question is, could somebody have or be in a philosophical joy if they are in support of a genocidal government? Very big questions to answer. I'm sure a lot of you will be passionate in the comment section. It goes without saying, free Palestine. No doubt that this channel, my work, my stream channel, my audience, we support Palestinian people, Palestinian liberation and resistance. And we understand that no matter who you are, you do not deserve ever to be targeted. We all deserve to be here. And we all deserve to be free while we are here for a limited time on this planet. So the first story I want to cover is with Jamie Lee Curtis. So recently, sort of 10 months ago in The Guardian, she was interviewed about plastic surgery and the impact on women's self-esteem. She even posed with these faux lips to kind of just like build an emphasis on sort of the exaggerated, she ends up calling it a genocide on women's bodies. But these pictures are, you know, they're fun, they're expressive. Jamie Lee Curtis has been a staunch supporter of Israel, so she kind of had a falling out with her fans that sort of had a better idea of her, which I understand because I too love her and love her movies, and that was a huge disappointment, of course.
The entire city of the Pacific Palisades is gone. Looks like, you know, unfortunately Gaza or one of these war-torn countries where awful things have happened.
But as we scroll down, there's conversations about plastic surgery and calling it a genocide on women's bodies. In this part of the article, it says that Curtis is emphatic that her ideas be accurately interpreted and, before a meeting, sent an email via her publicist explaining her thinking behind the shoot. She said, quote, "The wax lips is my statement against plastic surgery." So she goes on to say, "I've been very vocal about the side of a generation of women by the cosmeceutical industrial complex who've disfigured themselves. The wax lips really sends it home." The article continues to say, obviously the word genocide is a very strong and risk-causing offense, given its proper meaning. To Curtis, however, it is accurate. She says, "I've used that word for a long time. I use it specifically because it's a strong word. I believe that we have wiped out a generation or two of natural human appearance. The concept that you can alter the way you look through chemicals, surgical procedures, fillers. There's a disfigurement of generations of predominantly women who are altering their appearances, and it is aided and abetted by AI. Because now the filter face is what people want. I'm not filtered right now. The minute I lay on a filter and you see the before and after, it's hard not to go, oh, well, that looks better. But what's better? Better is fake." What was interesting, though, is she can call the cosmetic industry and the targeting of their marketing towards women a genocide, but she can't call what Israel has done to Palestine a genocide. And that begs the question about her ethics. So morals are personal, rights and wrongs. So she morally thinks plastic surgery is wrong, and then she ethically thinks it's wrong for society. So she's making a twofold argument. Off the back of Jamie Lee Curtis, there was also Gwyneth Paltrow, and she was in the news recently, basically doing an ad for a luxury Israeli real estate condominium apartment building that went up in Israel, and you've probably seen the commercial.
And the advertisement went viral over the weekend, and people are calling it genocide. Paltrow is backing one of Israel's tallest residential developments in Herzliya. This is it, like she wakes up
not again.
comfortably in her
Who
residence.
decided morning should be so early?
She's complaining, you know, early mornings, we're all struggling.
Even my coffee.
She's in
needs
Israel,
coffee.
enjoying her
Waking up
luxurious
for a morning
life.
run.
So the real estate company that owns it also owns a shopping mall in a Jewish settlement in the occupied West Bank. So you can imagine why it drew so much criticism online. People and like celebrities are openly calling it tone deaf, detached from reality, nasty, or simply stupid. The Times newspaper reminds that Paltrow is actually among the most prominent pro-Israel celebrities in Hollywood, and despite of like her popularity and like the fact that she's an Oscar-winning actress, many now are saying that she needs to be canceled.
And you can see in this commercial just how obnoxious of a sell it is. And then the question is, but why? Why do these beautiful, smart, capable women, who, by the way, Jamie Lee Curtis is worth $60 million and Gwyneth is worth $200 million, these women who are more than successful, why do they need to sell out in this way?
Hollywood is coming together to show its support for Israel. More than 700 celebrities signed an open letter released by the nonprofit Creative Community for Peace. Some of the names on that letter: Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Jamie Lee Curtis, Liev Schreiber, Amy Schumer, Michael Douglas, Mark Hamill, and Jerry Seinfeld.
In this article from CNN, it says the 53-year-old actress appears in the promotion for the 51 Park, a 51-story real estate project in the coastal city of Herzliya, just north of Tel Aviv. In an ad which was shot in New York and released this week, Paltrow says there's a reason the world's most iconic buildings are by a park. 51 Park. Why though? Why did she make this ad, and why did she do this deal, and why was this important to her? You know, there is this idea that if you girl boss just enough, you will liberate yourself from patriarchy and capitalism and white supremacy and all the evil things that all of us have to suffer from, except in this situation, she benefits.
All this commentary about like, oh, Goop is for the rich white Brentwood mom. All this stuff on Goop is so unattainable. It's too expensive.
Well, that's not true.
But I'm also like, but I kind of thought that was the point though.
I don't think that everything on the site is unattainable, but trying to be everything to everybody is a disaster. The Goop woman is kind of like the me of her circle.
Who's the Goop shopper?
So she's 40 plus. She has 2.2 children, college educated, largely coastal.
Is she rich?
Yes. Well, we kind of have two cohorts. We have like a reader cohort and a shopper cohort, but the shopper cohort has a higher household income than the reader.
Are you selling people the prospect that they can be you?
No.
Be like you?
No, I'm selling people the prospect that they can be them.
Yeah, but this audience of people have come because they love you, because they grew up watching you, because they aspire to be you.
Totally. But I think there's also something irreverent about me. There's a pushback against existing systems that I think our woman likes. That's who I believe Goop is speaking to.
But also moneyed.
Most of what we buy is not for that super, super affluent. It's more affluent.
Not super, super, just regular affluent.
Oh boy.
The dilemma, of course, is that there is this dream that you can go from a nobody to a somebody. And when you become a somebody, you're going to give it back to the community. When you become somebody, you're going to fight the system. When you have money, it will liberate you. But honestly, and this goes back to the content I made a few weeks ago, can you be rich and ethical? I think a lot of this money comes in a golden cage. I think a lot of these networking opportunities come with a golden handcuff.
When the time is right, she'll pay me back.
You sure about that?
No. But I hope for the best.
When we're honest and transparent about what people have to do to get these business opportunities, it's not good. And it's a little scary, honestly, because a big part of it is like you're owned by the companies or the whatever contract you've signed. And we've seen this before with musical artists like Kesha. And yet, you know, at the end of the day, money does kind of give us an opportunity to be exactly who we always were. And so, you know, it's easy for a lot of us who don't even make six figures to sit there and say, well, if I was rich, I would do this. The truth is that you don't really know how good of a person you are until you have an opportunity to be a bad one. So when we think about morals and ethics, you know, I don't know much about Gwyneth, but when I think about her and who she is and what she has been marketed as, it is this girl boss, this very successful creator of Goop, this woman who is championing women. And then you kind of think about what she's selling and who her marketing is for, and you realize she's really not for the people. And, you know, there's something expected about that.
If you want to avoid dairy, one trick that I do is I dice up arugula and I put it in.
You know, we live in a world where people want to get on stage with CEOs and talk about how much money their company made and not think about the true environmental impact, the true societal impact.
Well, and you're very honest about how you view parenting. I have to ask you about this. You did an interview with the Wall Street Journal, and the headline was "The Kardashian Whisperer Who Says 3 Hours with Her Kids is Enough." That's based on what you say in your book. You call yourself a 3-hour max mom. That raised a lot of eyebrows, as you know. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by it was exactly what I said, and I really don't want to backpedal. You know, the first thing that I thought when I saw that headline was like, wow, that would never have been written about a man. Nobody would ever have written that about my husband. The important thing is that I bring a level of honesty to everything I say, because when you work Monday through Friday, the idea that you've got this entirely free weekend to just be with your kids and orientate your whole world around your children, it's just not a reality. I have errands to run, I have things to do. And because we're in a social media culture that says, you know, you have to arrange every play day and count every macro and decide what your kids can and can't eat and make sure that they're constantly entertained, it's impossible. We're setting women up for a failure, and we're holding women to impossible standards.
We owe ourselves a philosophical duty to wonder how we became this way.
Emma Grade is the co-creator of Good American. She is the founding partner of Skims. And just this week, she published her debut book, Start With Yourself. This is another entrepreneur's Bible from somebody who's going to push a 7-day work week, doesn't believe that parenting is a full-time job, thinks that you should treat AI just like another employee, and doesn't believe in work-life balance. But this isn't new. Sheryl Sandberg popularized these kinds of ideas back in 2013 with Lean In. Of course, now with the publication of Careless People, we realize that all of that was bullshit. But even back in 2013, feminist critics warned us how dangerous this kind of thinking could be. Bell Hooks said that Lean In was just faux feminism. It didn't take into account race, class, or the realities of being a parent while not being a millionaire. The brilliant Nancy Fraser wrote in The Guardian that feminism was really being co-opted by neoliberalism. Basically, we're not questioning the structures that have limited us. We're using female empowerment as just another way to feed the capitalist machine.
And we can't just blame people. We have to be responsible for how we end up in the world. And that's why I ethically don't believe in punishment. I ethically believe in responsibility and accountability. I believe in restorative justice. I believe in a path to redemption. And I believe that all paths to redemption don't end up with you having your original life. A lot of people need to be held accountable by sort of having a brand new life that reflects that philosophical change, that ethical change. So it's hard to look at these women who have so much access and so much freedom and so much ability to do different, and then they don't. And, you know, this is the Taylor Swift problem, the Beyonce problem, this idea that these women ran on sort of marketing campaigns or foundations of, I will fight for you, I'm a feminist, I believe in you, only to end up and turn around and not sort of give back to the community. So again, it's not unique to the 3 women I'm featuring today. It is unique, though, of a girlbossing marketing campaign that's actually about making these individuals famous and rich while they leave the rest of us behind. So if anything, my content is always about you. It's always about us. It's really, what can we learn from this opportunity? What does it say about us that we promote and love these girl bosses, that we sit here and eat it up and then wonder why they turn around and don't invest in us? It's the same sort of trap that boys fall into with the red pill. Andrew Tate talks about men and how men need XYZ, and Red Pill, and, you know, talks about, you know, Myron from Fresh and Fit talks about men. But if you turn around and really look at who's getting successful and who's actually becoming rich, it's not their audience members, it's not their communities, it's them. They are the ones who are networking and becoming rich and getting all the women and doing all these things. Their audience is failing. There's a loneliness epidemic. Men are going through it, and they're going through it because they're philosophically empty. Girls, generally femmes, and this includes LGBTQIA people, right? I'm a queer person. This involves all of us, gender fluid people, people who are deconstructing gender. We are more likely to have communities, and we're more likely to touch grass, and we're more likely to have just people in our community as we age, right? Okay, that's probably why, and hear me out, it hurts even more when somebody who's more accessible to you, somebody who's more relatable to you, ends up being a bad person and or philosophically evil. Of course, subjective and based off my own morals. This is just, you know, my opinion based off of how I see the world. But I never felt so disappointed than watching girl boss Hila Klein sell herself as a girl's girl, only to turn around and support Israel, even though I know she's from there, and even though I know she has family there. I understand, as a US born citizen to parents who are from Iraq, I know what it's like to live in a country and watch a country invade and bomb and destroy a country your family still lives in and is from. I also know how hard it is to know what to do ethically and to see family torn and to have family who who even supported the Iraq war, being from Iraq. Like, I understand it. And then having other family who aren't supported, then years later regretting it. It's hard to watch somebody who feels so accessible to you, who feels kind of like a peer, who you think like, no, when she gets rich, she's going to make good decisions.
And it made me remember what it was like in college when you'd say, oh, meet me at the Free Palestine party. Then I find out you're over at the Israel house.
It says Hila Klein, an estimated combined net worth of $25 million, along with her husband and business partner Ethan Klein. Her wealth is primarily generated through her highly successful YouTube ventures and her thriving fashion business. You probably know it as Teddy Fresh. Watching Hila do Teddy Fresh, watching Hila become so successful, watching her build her brand, it was exciting. There was such a girl boss moment, such a girl's girl moment about it.
I am obsessed. I couldn't be any happier today. It's what?
This is the most like hair and makeup
Yes.
you ever? You love it though, right?
I love it. I like.
Don't you feel like a new person?
I do.
Yeah.
This is like the true form.
Yeah.
I truly think her time in the IOF deeply needs to be questioned, just like any time any of our family spent in the US military needs to be heavily questioned. We are deconstructing as a society, like class consciousness is like kind of coming together, kind of not. We're individually working on ourselves philosophically, but it begs the question, why did somebody who felt so tangible, so accessible, so much more accessible than Gwyneth or Jamie Lee Curtis, why couldn't she get it?
You told me once you went on like a mission with them to like a terrorist city.
I just wanted to see what it's like. As soon as we entered Ramallah, the people in the city started shooting us. I mean, it was just interesting. I mean, I walked with them to one house.
Okay.
I did get out of the car once.
Did they arrest anyone that night?
They did.
Did they bring it in the same car with you?
No.
Did they bring it in the same car with you?
No.
Was it like, how did you feel? Was it horrifying?
It was strange.
Why couldn't she get it? And that's really difficult to answer because no one really knows but Hila, though we can assume that a part of it is being a person and being flawed and being hurt and having really strong emotions. Recently, and this is, I think, what's the most shocking part of all of this, I'm gonna put my earphone in for this. Hila went to Israel in 2026.
Next Friday, I will not be here because I'm going to Israel. Yay! So excited. I haven't been there in 5 years, you guys. Because I've been pregnant and having babies and all this stuff. The wars. I just can't wait. I'm going to a bar mitzvah for my nephew.
Just here with this exchange, it sounds like the G-side's an inconvenience.
And all this stuff. The wars.
We understand from a human perspective that we all want to go home and see our families. And we also understand that given our situation, we're sitting in a really nice position of privilege, which means that we're not facing everyday threats to our life, unlike people in Palestine. So it feels very tone deaf for Hila to sit here and sort of make a joke about they call it a war in this exchange between Ethan and Hila. And it sort of is as if to say an inconvenience to their family rather than a serious matter. And so I think for a lot of us, we just wish that this could have gone differently, that this girl boss era of Hila Klein and everybody else could have turned out better, healthier, more girls girl. But at the end of the day, when people tell you who they are, you should believe them. There's a philosophical evil here that is not religious. There are no demons and ghosts or spirits. There's just evolved animals on a planet, and the direction we end up going into because of a combination of our lack of free will and our lack of introspection. So check out this Instagram story that, of course, people saved and downloaded and shared on the internet. Again, her decision to share this was a decision, and we have to criticize her for that decision. We have to hold her accountable for that decision. And it is an expression of her values, but watch it and just process it. So, of course, to the untrained eye, because there are many people who don't quite understand what's going on, it just looks like a person enjoying a summer vacation. But it is a statement. It's a statement of philosophical evil. It's a statement of, I don't care what's happening. I don't care about Palestinians. I don't think it's wrong. And it is a statement. Now, I don't know how self-aware Hila is because we've talked about this over on my stream channel because I review TV shows sometimes. And BoJack Horseman is a great example of this. BoJack Horseman is incredibly self-aware, but not introspective. He can tell you what's wrong with him, how he's a bad person, how he takes advantage of people, how he has substance abuse problems, XYZ, but he can't do anything about it. And what the people in his life are doing, they keep holding their breath for 6 seasons that eventually he's going to get it and he's going to change, only to realize by the end of the show that he he's not going to change. And all they can do is radically accept that Bojack is Bojack. And that's what we as audience members also have to do, which is why I don't believe in harassing people or bothering people or honestly even writing comments on Hila's page, because at the end of the day, she knows. She's an adult. She knows what she's doing. We're not only facing the populations, we are facing the possibility of people getting their civil rights taken away, which they're already in the works, trans people being put on lists, disabled people being put in institutions, unhoused people being kidnapped off the street and put in institutions. We're talking about ICE kidnapping people off the streets. We're talking about all of our money going to paying these governments who hide, PDF files from us and, save them from their responsibility of paying back to society what they did to it. We're dealing with a lot of really ugliness. And the ugliness, though, doesn't just exist in White Houses or in government buildings or in millionaires' homes. They exist in all of us. And so philosophy forces you to contend with the evil within yourself. All of us have philosophical evil. The question is, do we know how to be a little less bad every day? So when I see Hila Klein and then I see how people react to them, I can see the anchor inside of everybody, because it feels like, how could this thing that feels so obvious, how could you not just get on board? And yet I think this is not unique to our time and existence. I don't think it's unique to history. And I don't think it's unique to girl bossing. I actually think all of it connects. When we talk about systems of oppression, we're talking about frameworks and we're talking about propaganda that we have to unlearn. Then we have to take into consideration individual relationships, trauma, family history, lineage, connection to land. And then we have to deconstruct all of that. So this isn't easy. Nothing about this is easy. But you know what makes it sound easy? Girl bossing your way into $20 million and feeling like that will liberate you, but it won't. No matter how much money these women have made, they're still suffering and so much philosophical evil. The reason they say money doesn't buy joy, but it can buy happiness, is because money can make you happy. Happiness is a temporary emotion, and it can definitely help lessen your stress by paying your bills, but it's never going to liberate you towards your joy. And these are exactly the evidence of it. If money was enough, Trump would have been a saint. If money was enough, Andrew Tate would have been a saint. If money was enough, Hila Klein would have been a saint. And she's not. And nobody is. Because money is not the arbiter of our philosophical joy. And it can't be, because money is only one tool to being a whole human being. So I have this framework called being a whole human being. And one of it, yes, is how you labor. So how you feed yourself. It's very important. If you don't have enough money, the stress will impact everything else in your life. But also your mental health is important. What's going on up there? Okay. Your childhood, the way you were raised, the way you see yourself, the way you seek validation. This is important because this impacts how you socialize, how you build community. It also impacts how you feel about people being across the world. It really does, okay? And then, of course, your spiritual, philosophical health. What's your why? Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you move through the world the way you move through the world? Why do you have strong, passionate positions? How'd you come to this conclusion? What do you think about being a person on a planet, on a floating rock in space? How do you contend with that reality? If you do, maybe you believe something else. You have to know which one this is. And then, of course, you have to have a relationship with your physical body, of course, because we are biological creatures. We could get cancer or Alzheimer's or deal with chronic health like I do. And it does impact the way you move through the world. Half of my anxiety and stress about money is always about the idea that one of my very many relatives will get Alzheimer's, and who's going to pay or take care of them, or what if a cancer bill makes us bankrupt, right? This is serious, your physical health. And then, of course, who you are in the story. And who you are in the story is key to today's commentary video, because I think all of these women think they're the good girl boss heroes in the story. And though that's partially true for some part of their story, it is overshadowed by their support of a government body and their deliberate decision to turn a blind eye to the suffering of the Palestinian people, and now the Lebanese people, and now everybody in that region who's under threat from Israel. And so I say to you, how are you in any way also engaging in philosophical evil? What if you had $20 million? What would you really do with it? And how are you right now in your own life making sure not to become any of these three women while you girl boss your way into independence? Because the truth is that girl bossing is a capitalistic marketing scheme that makes women feel independent under capitalism without ever having to question white supremacy or patriarchy. And right now, that's just not going to help you unless you deconstruct all three in order to really find your philosophical joy, which I think looks more like stability in systems, so we can reach a level of class consciousness that gets us to the next evolutionary step of our humanhood, which might take another 1,000 years, but at least right now we can contribute to it. Because here's the thing, we are living history and we are just like this blip in time. We're not here for a very long time. And even though we're not here for a very long time, we do a lot of long lasting damage. And so I'm not asking you to do more. Life is stressful. It is so hard right now. I would never ask you to do more. But I will ask you to do less bad. One little thing you do every day that you just know is wrong or not the best or not, just one little less thing. Maybe you come home for work and throw your clothes on the floor and that stresses you out for tomorrow. Just take your clothes and put them where they belong. One little less bad for yourself. Maybe you notice you litter and you don't think much about it. Not today. Let's put it in a trash can. Maybe you notice that you kind of like overspend to feel good about yourself. Turn it into something a little bit more productive. Either buy it for somebody else or donate it to a charity or send it to Palestinians in need. Do something that is less than what you're doing, but it also engages in less bad. And I really hope for Hila and Jamie and Gwyneth that they too learn to be a little less bad every day, because I think it would really change the world. I think it would. The world can't change unless we change. And there's 8 billion of us, and gosh knows if we did, something would happen. And it'd be worth it. It'd be worth changing. I'm optimistic. Don't lose hope. But also, don't grow attached to the outcome, because you can't actually control other people. You can only control yourself. No matter how much you bully Hila Klein on the internet, it's not actually going to matter or change how you show up in your everyday life. Except now you'll be the bully on the internet. So again, I do think it's okay to make content. I think it's okay to make think pieces. It's okay to make blog posts. I think it's not as much okay to go into her comment sections and harass her. And to be clear, that's not just for the sake of Hila Klein's mental health, it's for yours. Because the one part of this that I think everyone misses is that often the way we engage in ruthless behavior is a form of self-harm. Sometimes people are so bad faith, they are arguing with you to literally argue with you. They are not here to hear you. And as an autistic girly who really is so optimistic and I so believe in humanity, sometimes I do get wrapped up in the idea that, like, if I just say it the right way, if I just explain it the right way, they'll get it. They're not going to get it until they're ready to get it. So until Hila Klein's ready to get it, she's not going to get it. Until Gwyneth is ready to get it, she's not going to get it. Until they're not going to get it. And you're not going to get it either until you're ready. So when you're ready, I hope you choose to be a little less bad today. Not do more good, because the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Just be less bad. I'd like to hear your comments in the sections down below. And I hope you have a good day. And I hope, you have the best meal of your life today and your pillow is perfectly chilled as you go to bed. And I hope you get to hug somebody you love today. And with that said, thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys for the next one.